Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Greetings from Montreal, Quebec, Canada. I'm Suzanne Bonn, and
I'm Kevin Stanley.
we're from Mcgill University, and we're going to be talking about Beyond English, capturing the added value of study abroad during COVID times.
Right, so here's our agenda for today. We're going to talk a little bit about Mcgill and our department. We're going to talk about value in study abroad. What are the attractions and the actual outcomes of study abroad? And then what features of one of our programs really support those outcomes? And the things that have survived, those features that have survived COVID-19, and what we've learned from that to build on what's happened in the last year. So, Suzanne, tell us about Mcgill University.
Well, first, happy birthday, Mcgill.
Yay.
Mcgill is 200 years old this year, March 31st. Mcgill is rated number 2 in Canada and number 35 in the world, according to the QS 2020 rankings. We have 12 Nobel Prize winners coming from Mcgill, and we're located in beautiful downtown Montreal. We have nearly 40,000 students on our campus. We have 2 campuses, and we have international students that come from over 150 countries that we welcome every year.
And what about our department?
So we are located in the School of Continuing Studies. This is an image from the outside of our building, 688 Sherbrooke. And we work specifically in the Department of Language and Intercultural Communication. And our students are adults. They tend to be college age or college bound. They are professionals who want to get some extra skills, or they are newcomers, immigrants to Canada. And Kevin, what about our programs? Tell us about our programs.
So we have a whole range of regular programs, including the program that I manage, which is the English Language and Culture program. But we also have short programs, such as the ones you're responsible for, Suzanne.
That's right. We have both English and French customized programs. They tend to be either 2, 3, 4 weeks long. We have a spring break immersion in February, March. We have an English immersion summer program in July and August. And we have our new program, which I'll tell you more about in a bit. And then finally, we also offer courses that would be a combination of language and content courses. We have our 6+6 program, which would be 6 weeks in Kevin's program, English Language and Culture, followed by 6 weeks in a content course offered in the School of Continuing Studies. We have a variety of content courses such as artificial intelligence, aviation management, business, and more. We also have a semester at Mcgill, that's the S@M, which is also content focused.
Right, so let's get into the heart of what we're talking about today, which is the value in study abroad. So students and educators who want to send students abroad are looking for some key things, Suzanne. So there's 5 main features. So let's go through those. What's the first one?
So the first one is academic in nature, right? This is kind of the basic reason why students will go abroad. They want to improve their language. They want to experience a new academic system. That's the first one.
Okay, next.
Next would be about career enhancement, right? People will study abroad because they want to improve or they want to include it on their CV. They want to be able to say they have foreign experience, that they are proficient in a second or third language, and they're also able to make connections or network while studying abroad.
Right. What about something a little more basic or simpler?
Well, sightseeing. Inoue did a study in 2019 asking students, what is it that you want in a study abroad experience? And in his study, it was all about sightseeing, right? The students wanted to visit touristic cultural sites and interact with locals.
Right, but then there's something that gets a little more personal or down into the personality.
Exactly. Like a lot of students will say, I want to go, I want to see a different way of life, live with a local family, make local friends, understand the politics of this country that I'm living in. So it's a chance for students to gain a new perspective, widen their horizons.
And that results in?
Personal growth, right? It's a chance for you to focus on who you are, see how you fit into this new society, as well as see how you fit back into your home society as well.
Right. So those are the things that people are attracted to. But let's look at what the research says really happens in study abroad, because there's going in what you think is going to happen and what really does. So let's go look at that then. Outcomes, what really happens.
Okay. Well, Nolan did a study with Japanese students who had actually done an internship, a study abroad internship in Southeast Asia. And he found that one of the key gains during that study abroad was about communicative skills. So what we call like soft skills, things like debating, negotiating, problem solving. So things that would enhance, your career in the future.
Right. And what about this?
Well, Schnickel, Martin, and Maruyama, they did a study in 2010 where they were comparing students' study abroad beliefs to see if it matched their professors' study abroad beliefs. And in their research, the authors argue that actually more important than language learning, which is kind of what we think is the focus of study abroad, are things like intercultural sensitivity and also intercultural competence, right? Being able to understand another culture and how things work there.
So what else did they find?
They also found that yes, of course, it's about social exchange and interactions and stuff, but really the heart of it is about personal transformation. And this links right back to what we talked about previously about one of the attractions is personal growth.
So after they've studied abroad, what else comes out of it in the future? What other kind of longer term effects are there for students from study abroad?
Well, this is actually some studies that I've been doing with some colleagues here in Montreal. And we've noticed that when students are studying abroad, of course, they're having these intercultural contacts. And when they're having these moments of talking to others or interacting with others, they get this feeling of like exhilaration and excitement, like, oh my gosh, I accomplished something, or I got something, like something clicked. And it leads to what we call post-encounter motivation. And we have found that this post-encounter motivation will then get students to do even more. It'll inspire them to, for example, one student was complimented on her pronunciation, and just that compliment inspired her to take a pronunciation course the next semester. So little things like that.
So having looked at all this research, we wanted to look at one of our programs, the English Language and Culture program, a 6-week intensive with students from all over the world, and see what features it has that support these outcomes that make it attractive and make it actually work and these things happening. So we divided those into two groups. There's the ones that are the organic features that support study abroad outcomes. These are the natural byproducts. These are the things that if students just go, these are going to happen. And the other ones are the ones they'll opt into. So let's look at the ones that happen organically first. So, these come from being in a homestay or just hanging out with your friends in the hallway or out in a sunny day. An international lunch that you have with students from your class, or country presentations, or something we call the cultural discovery projects, or other things with our conversation partners who are Mcgill students, or language exchanges, or just a myriad of things that happen as part of the curriculum and which are going to lead to these outcomes.
And Kevin, it sounds like your program has a lot to offer.
Right, but these are also things that are pretty much natural with any study abroad. They're going to happen normally when students go overseas. This is stuff you can't avoid.
Exactly.
But there are things that students who are a little more social, a little more daring, are going to opt into and get. So that's the other side of this. Things that are like going out to a pub night or playing sports, these types of other activities that we'll organize, bowling, going to a hockey game, these kind of sports and leisure activities that we'll schedule, but they have to choose to do it. Or, we have a talent show that we do 2 or 3 times a year, or volunteering. Not everyone's forced to volunteer. There's something they're going to have to go and choose to do on their own. one of the great things that we have, we're very proud of, is our MCLL partnership. Mcgill Community for Lifelong Learning is senior citizens. So we have it's a big club at Mcgill of many hundreds of people who get together and learn and continue their learning activities as seniors. But we've been able to be putting our international students with them for something, for example, Brainy Bar, which is where our students help the older people with their technology questions, how to use their phone. I mean, it's, how many students haven't shown their grandmother how to use a smartphone? It's that kind of thing. Or, these kind of exchanges and lunches, or longer term partnerships where one senior citizen and one student meet for 6 months together every week, that kind of thing. There's a lot of really nice things that we've come up with MCLL. Or just other stuff, clubs and, eco club, or playing board games, what we call jeu de société in French, which really brings out the social side of that. Outings, of course. I mean, we have a wonderful city that people can go and enjoy in all different seasons, and explore culture and enjoy their time. So all that to say, we've got these two lists of things, but unfortunately, not everything can be done in COVID-19.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate. So Kevin, what is it that we can do or can't do? Yeah, so what is it?
Well, no more homestays. That's just not going to work when we got to stay in our continents. You can't really have those casual interactions. Platforms like Zoom don't really allow public spaces where people can just randomly hang out. International lunch, the food doesn't taste so good going down on the internet. But I mean, there are things that we can retain out of those: country presentations, conversation partner sessions, those projects, language exchanges. For the opt-in things, again, no going to pubs. You can't really do sports. You can't really do the talent show. The club activities didn't work. Volunteering, all those things were shut down. All our partnerships with volunteer organizations didn't really work. But we were able to salvage some of these things. So here's the survivors, as we call them, the features of the ELC, the English Language and Culture program, which survived and were able to deliver in COVID in Zoom and in remote instruction.
So Kevin, I can see how you could do most of these things on Zoom, but how do you do outings in Montreal?
Right. So yeah, you're right. We were able to replicate most of this with Zoom classes and remote learning. But for outings, we did virtual outings. So we would send one of our conversation partners into the field to go to a park or a museum with a camera, and they'd run through on Zoom, and we'd have somebody in what we called the mothership, who'd be at a computer at home, who's showing a map or an image or supporting information, while the two different conversation partners would be in the field in different cameras. So someone would be switching cameras between views at one end of the park and another end of the park, and then talking. And the students who are participating from all over the world would say, "Oh, what's that over there?" Or "What would you like to how about we go down, what's down that path?" That sort of thing. So, or could we look at this longer? Yeah.
So it was quite interactive, actually.
Exactly. So we were able to do quite a lot with that. And then we would record those so people who would miss it could watch later anyway. But they really wanted to make them live events, because anyone can watch a touristic YouTube video about Montreal, but to be in the moment with someone who's actually there was a lot of fun.
Exactly.
All right, so we were able to keep some of it, and we've learned a lot from this, to the point where we're able to design new programs for it. So Suzanne, you've got a new short program for this summer building on all these principles, right?
Exactly. So we have a new program called English and Canadian Culture from Abroad. And normally in the summertime, we offer 3-week customized programs where students would come in person. They would stay in a private residence. There'd be a lot of day trips, time with the conversation partners. And unfortunately, we just can't do that right now. And so this is a completely remote program, our first all remote program. for customized. And of course, one of the challenges was thinking about the timing, right? What works in Montreal, but also works in Asia, because a lot of our students do come from Japan in the summer. And so most of the events for those located in Japan will take place in the morning and in the evening. Unfortunately, we can't do anything in the afternoon because that's our middle of the night and there would be nothing to see. And so we have to keep in mind the key attractions, right? If we go back to that slide, or if we remember that slide, those 5 key attractions, right? So thinking about, for example, like the academic side of it and improving language. Of course, we're going to do this through our course content and also through our pronunciation clinic. We do want students to see some improvement in their language, whether it be vocabulary, pronunciation, but they'll also be gaining a lot of new perspectives, right? Because the focus of this course and its content is all about Montreal, Quebec, and Canada. So we'll be focusing on things like language, multiculturalism, food, and more. So we really hope that students will feel in a way like they are in Montreal at the time. We're going to do our best for that. We also want to have some unique features, something that makes our program stand out a bit, and that would be the last 2 points, which would be the pronunciation clinic, which is something we are keeping from our original in-person program. We thought we could easily replicate this in Zoom. And the last point is the conversation partner practice time. This is where our students will be in small groups with local Mcgill students. And it's really about focusing on the social interaction, hoping to create these moments of exhilaration and excitement that will get the students to feel like, I want to do something more with this, right? That post-encounter motivation. So we'll be offering a variety of activities and outings similar to what Kevin does in his program, but we're going to bring in some new things like cooking demonstration, scavenger hunt, movie night. So we hope that with this whole 3-week remote summer program, that students will be able to feel like they have studied abroad in a way, but from the safety of home, and that they've learned about Montreal, and that they've also experienced some personal growth.
Right, sounds great. And it'll hopefully whet their appetite to come back again in person when it's safe.
Oh, we would love to welcome students back to our campus in person, yes.
All right, well, let's wrap up with some final thoughts. So there have been a lot of challenges in changing to remote. We simply aren't able to replicate everything that we had in the study abroad program when we're teaching on Zoom. Not only those missing features, but students who are still back at home are not completely committed to the program. They're quite often got a part-time job or they're studying other courses. It's really been hard to make the whole thing come together for that. But there have been some benefits, right, Suzanne?
Oh, yes, for sure. I mean, we can reach out to more students now. Students who perhaps were not able to afford to study abroad and pay for all those extra things like airplane ticket, accommodation, meals, sightseeing, right? Now they are simply just paying the tuition fees for the program. So I feel like our programs are a lot more accessible to students. And we have to remember, we're still in these uncertain times and we have to do what we need to do to stay safe. And these programs are definitely allowing for that safety to happen. And I'd say one of the really fun benefits of this has been, at least for us as administrators, Kevin, is that we have learned to be even more creative, right? We've always perhaps gone with the programs, kind of doing the same thing because it works. But now we've learned new ways of doing things. And perhaps some of these new ways will stay.
Right. And one of the other things we've discovered is there's certain access to community connections that aren't available when you're in person. Before, when we want to send students to a community center or to a volunteering program, it has to be something that's on the subway line that the students can easily access because they're so focused on downtown Montreal. Now, we can set them up with interviewing someone in Quebec City or in Toronto or explore some part off in the suburbs somewhere that they wouldn't necessarily go to when they're in person. So the other thing it's done along with the creativity is it's pulled us into really focusing on what matters in study abroad, which is those developing intercultural competence and making those human connections with people, which you're still able to do surprisingly well without being in person.
The last slide is our references,
References.
if anyone would like to look up those studies. And finally,
we're looking forward to the Q&A at the discussion forum. That's May 15th at 9 a.m.
and
Japan
should
time.
you like to contact us, our email addresses are listed here, and we'll see you on May 15th.
That's right. Thanks, everyone.
Merci. Thank you.
And arigato.